Well, hello everybody. It's been a while. Almost a year, I guess. Look, we had a chat now on the right. I don't know if it's necessary, to be honest. Otherwise, you can look at the terminal. So I'm gonna leave it for now. You can, at least you can tell the delay, I guess. Okay, hi everyone again. In case you don't know, I guess I should start with that. I've been working on Astortion, the new version of Astortion, I guess, since February. This one is written in Bevy, as I announced in one of my previous videos. And today I just wanted to sort of, do a quick live update on where I am right now, because I feel like I don't feel like making videos about this part of the development, because there's really not that many interesting things happening, right? It's the, typical setup and physics and stuff like that. I do have some interesting ideas for the future, but they are still cooking, like, generating the mesh procedurally using splines and stuff like that. But currently I have like a really, work in progress kind of implementation just for the sake of playtesting. So once it's ready, then I'm gonna make a full video about this on the main channel and stuff like that. Okay, hello everybody again, and I guess we can start the little tour over the project. So first of all, let me address some accusations. Yes, I'm using Visual Studio Code. Yes, it's kind of cringe, I know, but at the same time, I don't care. I kind of, out of all the IDEs that I tried with Rust, this one is like okay. I tried NeoVim, and I tried the new Rust Rover by IntelliJ, and I tried Fleet. And Fleet is almost good, but oh my god, the git diff view is criminal. I absolutely hate it. So I'm sticking with this for now. What's wrong with Visual Studio Code? Nothing. I'm just, mostly kidding. It's just that, it doesn't have a good rep, I guess, if you just look at opinions on the internet. The types of people who are like, oh, you're not a real developer because you're not using, Emacs or Vim or whatever. But as I said, I'm enjoying it mostly. Have you tried Rust Rover? Yeah, I have. And I may need to try it again because I tried it right after the release, and the experience was a bit worse than with Rust Analyzer, because they have their own plugin, right, for the support. It used to be open source for CLion, and then they sort of took it over, which wasn't the nicest of moves, I guess. But yeah, this was a few months ago, so I know that there's a new version of Rust Rover, so I should probably try it out, see if it's better. Twitter opinions, yeah. Okay, so another preface. I don't know a single thing about Rust, right? You need to keep this in mind. I've been learning Rust alongside Bevy for the past few months, so I may be doing things wrong. Definitely don't, copy me or anything like that. So starting with the project structure, right? We have a single workspace with multiple crates, and I have my main game in a separate crate. Actually, it's not on the top level in the source directory, because you can do that. You can have a configuration for the workspace and for the main crate in the same file, and then the source directory is, at your project root. But my main game is actually here in the AST crate, which is not ideal because there are some issues with the asset plugin in Bevy, which causes it to generate the imported assets and assets directories in wrong places. Like you can see here, it's generated the log inside of AST, despite the fact that I configured it to use the root directory. Hold on, because I'm reading chat. JetBrains folder icons LMAO. Yeah, this is a transitional period for me, okay? Because I used to use a lot of Rider for C# and WebStorm for TypeScript. VS Code is bad because although it's nominally open source, all its extensions can only legally be used by Microsoft published version. So it's a form of embrace, extinguished, and so on. Yeah, it's a typical, sounds like a typical Microsoft product. Why Bevy? Why you want to learn Rust? I have an entire video about that on my main channel. If you wanna check it out, it's called A Little Reset, and I go over my rationale over there. So I'm not gonna discuss it here. Okay, so the main project is here. I'm gonna first go through the project, and then I'm gonna go back to any questions so that I don't stop every now and then. The main project is here, and it contains practically nothing. It's just a little skeleton for reasons that I will explain later. Then all of the common stuff for now is in a single crate called common, but I may be splitting it later depending on how the project is shaping. And the reason why I have it structured this way is because I'm using hot reload for my systems. So I have a system crate, right? And in here, I have two functions for update and for fixed update. And they are being called from within the main crate using a hotlib reloader, which is a crate for Rust that basically watches for changes to another dynamic library and updates it automatically. So these are two systems, and when the reload feature is enabled, they are registered by the plugin for both fixed update and update, and then they are basically called. There's some more things being done here, like seeing if the library has changed and then clearing the systems. But in essence, what it allows me to do is it allows me to have these registrations here, and I can have whatever system I want here, and any changes to these systems will happen at runtime. So actually, if I run the game right here, and I run the watch task, which looks for changes to this file and then recompiles it, I can, for example, say that the flip should be in the opposite direction, right? And after this reloads, which takes like a few seconds, now as I go to the left, the sprite is flipped in the opposite direction. So this has been a lifesaver when doing physics, because this is something that I've been working on this month. I cannot imagine doing all of this without being able to see these changes, like maybe not immediately, but I don't have to restart the entire game each time I change something. It's not ideal. It sometimes crashes. I don't know why. I have some speculations, which I'll have to investigate eventually. But basically, the thing that observes changes to the files is running on like a separate thread, and I feel like it may just happen sometimes that the library is updated like somewhere between here, and then an old version of the function is called, which causes the system to crash. I don't know, but it works most of the time, and it's also a development only thing, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And then lastly, there's the DevTools crate, and this is where all of the things for like debugging and stuff are located. So if I relaunch the game really quick, you can see that I can press tab, and now I have the Bevy inspector opened, right? This is not something that I wrote. It's a crate that you can configure, and it basically, like, you know, allows you to inspect the things in the scene, see what's happening with them, what are the components, what are the values, stuff like that, mostly for debugging purposes. Yeah, and there's a crash right now when I close the game because I have some unwraps in my systems that I think they crash when the window is no longer available, and so I'll have to handle that eventually. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Lastly, I guess we have this Blender. We have this Blender thingy. And I actually have Blender open here. So I set up my own sort of asset processor for Blender for importing the scenes. And now I know that there's a crate that does this for sort of, there is an entire bunch of crates for setting up this sort of workflow between Blender and Bevy, but right now it is happening at runtime. So the way it works is that you're supposed to export a GLTF file from within Blender, and then this file is loaded by Bevy, and at runtime it's sort of turned into these blueprints, from my understanding. And what I needed was a preprocessor that's going to run at compilation time. So something that will take the GLTF file and then apply some modifications at compilation time and then save them in some more optimized format. So the way it works right now is that actually I'm importing the raw Blender file, if I can find it, right here. So I'm just loading the scene from test.blend, and it's located here in this asset folder. And this is just a Blender file that I have open right here, right? So now my game is running right there. And let me showcase this really quick. So right now I'm standing here, and if I modify this handle, it's gonna reload it in the game. And it uses this this new thing from Bevy 0.12, which is a what's the name of that? Oh, it's asset processor, right? The way it works is that you load the file from here, but it actually gets processed from here to the imported assets directory. And here you can see that it's no longer a Blender file, it's just a Bevy scene, which has been compiled into this new format. And the reason I'm using it is because I want the environment to be based on curves, right? So if I go here, right, it allows me to basically have all of these curved surfaces, which I want to use because, you know, the game is all about gravity, and oftentimes you want the gravity to like change in different directions. And if the game was based on a grid, I feel like it would be much more restrictive than being able to just use splines and have, you know, random angles everywhere. And GLTF doesn't actually support splines. So I have a custom sort of plugin for Blender, which uses GLTF extra field to export all of this data about the curves, and then they are turned into both the collider and the mesh. And this is why I need this preprocessing, because I don't want this to happen at runtime. Ideally, I just want this to, you know, turn into mesh at compilation time and then just load the mesh instead. So that would be the Blender crate, and that's pretty much all we have right now. Right, we have the systems, we have the dev tools, we have the common things, Blender and AST. I also want to do the same thing as I do with Blender, but with Asprite, because that would also be handy. And it's actually not that complicated. I can show you how it works. But I guess first, hold on, let me see the questions, if there are any. With the fixed update, are you trying to avoid the parallelism magic from Bevy, or is there a plan to move all of your systems to schedules separately? No, they're gonna be moved to schedules separately, yeah. That is the plan. Do the long compile times ever become an issue? I don't know. I guess I'll find out eventually. But with the hot reload, the good thing is that it only needs to recompile the systems crate. So if you keep the systems crate small, you don't really increase the compile times, right? So my plan is to keep the things that I'm currently working on in here. So like right now, I'm working on the player controller and I'm working on the physics. So I have them here. But once they're more stable, I'm gonna move them out to the common crate and then set up whatever I'm working on here in the systems. This is my plan. This setup looks impressive. How do you plan to scale it horizontally when you start adding all the game content? What do you mean by game content though? Do you mean like more code? Because more code, I'm just gonna be splitting into more crates. When it comes to more like actual things in Blender, I still need to learn Blender enough to figure this out, because I know that you can have like collections and scene collections and have them configured, and they are actually respected in the GLTF export. So the plan is to have one big Blender file with the entire world in it, hopefully, if that's possible, but it's going to be separated into separate scene collections. And then each scene collection is going to have some sort of a bounding box defining at which points it should be loaded. And Bevy is going to check like, oh, are we close to this area? Does it have to be loaded? And if so, we're going to load it. That's the main plan. For someone who has only done pretty basic Bevy games, your workflow is super impressive. Thank you so much. If I remember correctly, Bevy automatically parallelizes all systems. How does that work with your services as a crate approach? I do not understand. What services? So, oh, okay, I think I know what you mean. So right now, both the update and the fixed update takes a world reference, which makes it an exclusive system. This means that Bevy needs to first execute everything that can happen before it, and then it executes it without any parallelism. So when this system is run, nothing else is run. I mean, aside from rendering and all of that stuff, but you know what I mean. These are called exclusive systems, and they cannot run in parallel. But once I move them back, they will be able to run in parallel. Although it doesn't really matter here that much, because something like an update player controller on update physics or update animator, they operate on the player, and there's only one player in the world, and they need to happen in a specific order. First, you need to apply the controller, then you need to apply physics, then you need to apply animation. So there's still going to be no parallelism in this case. Yes, more scenes, levels, and so on to bring things up and down from the game. Yeah, so that's I think I sort of explained that, but then again, we're going to see how it goes. Because I don't know, I've never done this. So we plan to move some systems back into Bevy schedule. Cool. Yes, this is sort of, this crate is just a temporary thing. I'm just keeping the things that I'm currently working on, like actively developing, so that I can change them quickly and like iterate. But again, once I'm settled on like a specific controller and physics, I'm just gonna move them back either to common or to its separate crate. How is Rust for you compared with C#? Rust is an amazing language. I have nothing original to say about it, I guess. Well, I really enjoy it in the context of like game development, because my main deal with C# and Unity is that there is this whole garbage collector, and the idea is like, oh, you don't need to worry about memory and allocating memory and freeing memory, because the garbage collector does it for you. But in practice, what ends up happening is that Unity gives you a bunch of methods, and they're like, this method creates a new instance of an array. This method does not create a new instance of an array. Why? Because you're not supposed to allocate a new array in the hot path, because C# treats every single array as something allocated on the heap. And it's just like, there is this thing that's supposed to make you not think about memory allocation, but you still need to think about memory allocation. And in Rust, it's like, yeah, no, you need to think about memory allocation like all the time, right? It's just, it doesn't try to eliminate this, and I feel like it's a good thing, because it's an important thing in game development in general. Is this project your first Rust experience? Yes, it is. I mean, I made like a smaller Bevy game before this, just to sort of, test the waters. I recreated my Reanimator demo, and this is what I based my most recent video about. I based my most recent video on, I guess. But yeah, this is, I'm learning Rust as I go here. Any big blockers in terms of engine bugs, missing features? No, not really. I feel like Bevy is definitely missing a lot of features in like the 3D department, right? From what I know. But since I'm doing my rendering customly, I don't really feel the missing features that much. It's not that big of a problem to me. I guess the entity relations is this one feature that's like missing from the entity component system right now that I feel like would be really useful. So that's something that I'm excited about, but they're also actively working on it. So hopefully it's gonna land in, next few versions. But I haven't run into anything where I would be like, oh, I wish the engine had this feature, right, for me, and it didn't have it. But then again, it's really game specific. I'm really I'm in a really specific position because Astortion is not a complex game, right? Like when it comes to the amount of programming that has to be done, it's not that complex. So you're porting the entire game to Bevy. What would you say working on Bevy feels like? It feels a bit different, but at the same time, the problems you solve are pretty much the same as in an object-oriented, scene graph-based kind of engine. There are certain things that you definitely, one of the coolest things is that you don't need to worry about querying things, because the whole system is based around querying. So maybe you're making a game like I do, and you have these anchors, right? Here, and you want to find whichever anchor is closest to the player. So you're gonna have to iterate over every single anchor and measure the distance and find the closest one. So in other engines like Unity, for example, you need to somehow maintain your own array of all of the anchors, because again, you can't really query them at runtime, because everybody is like, oh, you can do that every single tick because it's not performant enough or whatever. And here, because of the archetype tables and the way the ECS system is structured, querying things like that is extremely fast. It's practically like no runtime cost to do something per every single entity in the scene. Are you overriding some of the Rust FMT style rules? Thought I saw a config file in your directory. Yes, but okay, don't add me. But the only rule that I override is the max wave to AD. because I'm that type of guy. Okay, I just like when I can fit my entire thing. I like when I can fit two how do you say that, files on the same monitor. Because the default is, I think, 120, right? Especially since the language is using like 4 spaces, right? So that alone adds a lot of width. How are you doing your rendering? I'm not doing my rendering yet. I'm leaving it for later. But I'm gonna have an entirely custom web GPU solution, which I have a video series about also on my main channel. Not much has changed when it comes to the actual implementation, because graphics APIs are mostly similar when it comes to like the overarching approach to rendering. So I'm gonna be doing the same thing that I described in my videos, except in Bevy. I really enjoy Bevy's like extraction pipeline, right? Where you have the simulation world and then you have the rendering world, and you just move things that you need from one to the other, and then the rendering can happen in parallel. That's really cool. I really like that idea. You might have already answered this question, but do you have anything to show? If not, can you quickly say what have you done and what are you gonna work on next? Yeah, so I set up the project. I set up the Blender pipeline that allows me to create like levels and place these anchors. I set up the physics so I can, move my character around, move up the slopes, stuff like this. Stop if the angle is too high. And I've added a basic anchor functionality, so I can use it with space to sort of climb up. Also, the character is running the other way because I was doing a showcase. Other than that, I'm also like experimenting with other gameplay features, and this is what I'm working on right now. I'm gonna be adding a bunch of different gameplay features, and then we're gonna do a playtesting session with my patrons to figure out what works and what doesn't. So anchor is like the legacy gameplay mechanic, right? The first gameplay mechanic that I implemented in the previous game, and it's already here, right? I can like stand on the wall as well. Maybe, jump this gap, stuff like that. But this time around, it's probably not gonna be the main focus of the game, although we'll see. Because I think I figured out a way to make them not that game breaking, if that makes sense. And I'm gonna talk about this in just a moment, about the gameplay features that I actually have planned. So yeah, that's the state of the game. Is there something you wanted to implement into Astortion, but you decided against it because you felt if you did it, it would take several weeks, months, develop for minimal reward? No, I don't think there is a thing like that. I'm mostly trying to take like an incremental approach where I start with, the bare minimum that's necessary for the game, and then depending on how much time I have and how much more effort I'm willing to put into the game, I'm gonna be adding more and more, quote unquote useless stuff. But this time around, I want to start with the fundamentals and everything that's necessary to have a proper, functional, fun game to play. And then, if I want to make the ponytail, react to gravity, which would probably take some time, but I really want to do it. But things like that are gonna happen, once I have the game and not before. That's funny. I think 120 is perfect. Yeah, to each their own, I guess. This, fortunately, I'm not working with other people on this code base, so like, I don't have to, have any sort of agreements on the style. Web GPU not for the web. Interesting. I don't know much about Web GPU. Web GPU is basically for everything. It was the standard was designed for the browsers, but it's really good and the implementation is really solid. And it's the first graphics API that we have that works on everything, because it works on Windows, it works on Linux, and it works on Mac OS, which is crazy that Apple actually collaborated on this standard and implemented it. It still has a lot of missing features when it comes to really specific things, and advanced things, I guess. One thing is bindless assets, I think, is one of the things that is missing right now, and people are like really complaining about this. But yeah, it's used for more things than just the web. Bevy, for example, is using WebGPU for rendering. Will WebGPU also work on PS5, Switch, and so on? I have no clue, to be honest. You would need to research that. I don't think it would. But it could. There is a possibility of like translating it, right? Because they are using some intermediate language for translation. I think it's something based on Vulkan or something like that. I don't know. I'm not that knowledgeable about these things yet. Hopefully, I'm willing to learn more as I get more into implementing the renderer. Have you had passing thoughts about modding workshop support, or God forbid, an entire level editor? I did. I actually, this is funny. I wasted a week on this. Okay, this was before I released my most recent video. I was trying to make a level editor for these splines, because I thought to myself, like, how difficult can it be, right? How difficult could it be to implement something like this, where you can just modify splines and stuff. And this is actually where all of these dev tools come from. Even the fact that I can drag and select things, and it finds the overlapping bounding boxes. I wasted a week on that, and after a week, I had somewhat of a workable editor, and I thought to myself, what am I doing? Like, it's been a week, and I'm already wasting time on like the most useless thing ever. I mean, I guess it would be cool if the game had a level editor for like other people to use, right? But it's such an enormous cost in terms of development time. And then I stopped. And this was actually like the realization. It was funny because it was happening as I was writing the script for my most recent video. And I actually talk about this in my most recent video, right? It is a bit of a criticism of spending too much time creating custom editors. I was writing the script, and then I realized this, and I was like, oh my God, this whole thing makes sense. And this is when I wrote the ending for my video. So anyway, no, there's gonna be no visual editor or level editor, excuse me, at least not in the initial release. I may add something afterwards as a little, free expansion or whatever, but I haven't thought about this extensively, to be honest. And also, I do know that Bevy, I think making it happen in Bevy may be a bit difficult. Maybe not the level editor, but custom extensions and plugins and mods, I guess that's how we call them. Custom mods would be probably difficult to execute in Bevy. Are you planning to release some crates as open source software? I was initially thinking about releasing the Blender crate because I like it a lot, but then I realized that it can be much more useful to me if I can integrate it more with the rest of the game, because there's always this problem of like over generalization and over abstraction, right? When you try to create something that's useful for everybody and not just for your specific use case. Because I'm actually happy with my Blender crate, because the way it works, and it took me an entire day of like trial and error to get this to work, but it basically launches a new Blender process in the background, right, without a visual editor, and then it opens the Python console, and so whenever changes happen, I just use Python. I send Python commands to Blender to open the file and export the GLTF file. So this way, the Blender file itself is like the source of truth. I don't need to manually re-export the GLTF file, or I don't need to have a plugin that automatically runs GLTF export, because it can be created from zero, right? Like imported assets could be deleted with all of this information, and Bevy would just recreate it by running Blender. Yeah, so I like this idea. I think it's cool, and maybe some people would find it useful. Are you missing the UI and editor customization that Unity offers? Also, what is the main thing that caused you to switch from Unity to Bevy? I have an entire video about this. Google a little reset, and you're gonna find it. And I go over everything. I'm sorry to like sending you off to a separate video, but I feel like it's much well thought out, right? than me being live. I lay out my case clearly in that video in a concise manner. But I don't miss Unity, to be honest. The problem with Unity's editor customization is that it leads you to spending a lot of time making editors and not actually making the game. And there's not a lot of things that are sort of excusable when it comes to having an editor. Like a lot of the time, at least from my personal experience, right? This is definitely not like an objective truth that's gonna apply to everybody. But I prefer using code. And this is something that's been the case for me since forever. Like if I can do something using code, then I'm gonna prefer doing it this way. So having to, drag and drop references in the editor to like connect, scriptable objects together, it was never fun to me. And I would always prefer much more to be able to just write a code that creates these references, if that makes sense. Do you plan on putting the Unity pixel renderer on GitHub at some point? Sadly, no, because it's not finished. It doesn't really work. And it also, when I was implementing it, it required me to modify the source code of the universal render pipeline itself. Because that's another thing about Unity, is that there's a lot of final things where they just, make the class final or make it internal, and you just cannot access it and cannot extend it in any way. And it is understandable from like the perspective of the maintainer of the engine, because you don't want to have breaking changes in new releases, so you keep as much of the internals internal as possible. But yeah, because of that, I had to basically duplicate the universal render pipeline package, apply some modifications in it, and then maintain it, right? So I had to rebase it on new releases every time. It was a nightmare, and it's not finished, so I don't feel comfortable with like releasing it. Basically, that's the current situation. What do you find the most convenient in Bevy? A biggest upside, and what's the drawbacks you see? Oh, that's a difficult question. I guess Rust would be like the biggest convenience for me. The engine itself, I wouldn't say it's worth it, right? Like if you have a choice between using an object-oriented engine versus an ECS engine, and you're making like an adventure game that's not really that well suitable for ECS, like a factory simulator or a Vampire Survivors clone. There are certain games that can really benefit from an ECS architecture, but games like adventure games and stuff like that, I'm not really convinced that the optimizations from ECS are worth it. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend like switching for the sake of ECS, right, to Bevy. I don't think. If you have a game that works with that, then sure. But other than that, to me, the biggest like benefit is being able to write it in Bevy, in Rust, excuse me. And Bevy is like the most popular engine written in Rust. And the ECS is not that bad, right? It's just a bit different. And the biggest drawbacks, oh my god. That too, my main two problems with Bevy and Rust and the Rust game dev community in general are as follows. First of all, a really liberal use of panics. Panics in Rust are these things which are meant to happen if like the state of your system is just screwed. There is nothing you can do to fix it, and they basically shut down the entire application. You can do stack unwinding. I know that you can configure this. I don't know how it works exactly. I'm going to be looking into that eventually. But in general, the idea behind panics is like, we screwed, there's nothing you can do, we're shutting down the program. And people just use them everywhere. Like even with I can show you an example with like my mesh generation for curves. If I can find it. Or try add constraint. Yeah, there's a function in Spade, which is meant for mesh generation, that adds a constraint. And this function, it will panic if the constraint edge intersects an existing constraint edge, right? So what you need to do is you need to check it manually before calling this method. And like, why is this the case? Why this should just return, you know, a result. But because it doesn't return a result, and Rust was designed with like panics being the like last resort kind of thing, it doesn't really have any syntactic way of notifying you that this function is gonna panic. So what you end up doing is just reading the documentation. Like you need to check every function that you call essentially in Rust, you need to check the documentation in case it can panic on you, right? And so this is my biggest issue. But again, it's not really about Rust and its design, but more about how like community develops things, I guess. The panic was the biggest mistake that Rust made, in my opinion. Like, I think it's a really beautiful idea that, you know, everything is going to be handled through results, but it's just people use it, you know, too freely, in my opinion. That method should be unsafe. Like, yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Maybe there's probably a reason why it doesn't do the check itself, probably for some like optimization benefits. But then there should be at least another method that does the check, right? Like it shouldn't be like, oh, you need to read through the documentation, see that it panics, then somehow find the method that you need to use in order to check if it's not gonna panic, and then you're good to go, right? Again, not to like blame the specific crate or anything, because it's just, it really seems common, especially in the game dev community. I actually prefer ECS for everything, but it's weird and very inconvenient at times, but I still like it. I enjoy the structure for some reason, but if you're not making a sandbox, it doesn't help much. Yeah, I think I agree with that. Again, maybe I feel like entity relations are gonna be like a really a game changer thing. That like, they're gonna be something that like, oh, in another engine I would really need to think about how to implement that, right? And here it's just like done automatically for me. So I'm definitely excited for that. But in general, yeah. Stop stressing out the code, give it some tea or something. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't understand the joke or the reference. Are you feeling the pain of upgrading between Bevy versions? They are widely productive and thankfully for now are not afraid of breaking changes until 1.0, but have made me concerned over adoption. No, like actually the first migration is behind me because I started with 0.12 and now I'm on 0.13. And I had to change like basically nothing. this may vary, but also the way I think about this is that they have the ECS mostly down, right? I don't think there's gonna be any wild changes to the way ECS works, so I'm not really afraid about having to rewrite everything. I think in the most recent release, the only change I had to do was like the rename for query parameters. I think they somehow changed the names, and that was pretty much it. A do thing and a do thing unchecked, yeah. You make the code panic, man, don't stress it, give it some space. Okay, I get it now. Hello. You're making it panic. Keep it up and it will start growing gray hairs. What is all this, by the way? This is a really wide question. This is a live stream where I showcase my progress so far on a game that I'm working on called Astortion, which is made in Bevy and Rust. And that's it. It's just a little game, a little simple game with not a lot to show. Do you have any plans for the music? I think I do. When working on my previous game, Solomon's Link, I was asking the community for help on music, and quite a lot of people sent their applications, and there was one person whose music I absolutely loved. And when I listened to that, I was like, this doesn't really suit the current game, but Astortion, oh my god, I would love that person to like take care of the music. And so I messaged them and I was like, hey, would it be okay if I message you, a few months from now about Astortion? And they were like, okay. I haven't messaged them yet, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, but basically the answer is like, I'm gonna be looking for somebody to help me with, and then do, the classical revenue split, right? From after the game is released. Code panic culture was issue number 1 you had with Rust. What was number 2? Oh yeah, thank you so much. Vectors. Every single crate uses a different crate for vectors. It's like, oh, we are using Glam. We are using Nalgebra. We have a custom implementation of Point. And it's just so annoying because of Rust orphan rules. Is that the name of it? I cannot implement like an into trait for external types, right? So just converting between one and the other is so annoying. I even have like a function here, I think. Yeah, I have a function here that converts vector to point, because point is something that Velo uses, which is like a custom implementation, and it's just X and Y. Like, why couldn't it be the same thing? You know what I'm saying? So this was also really annoying. I don't know, but I can't read Rust, sadly. Yeah, the syntax can be a bit overwhelming. You mentioned entity relationships. What do you mean by that? And do you think any of your planned systems are going to be weird to implement with ECS? So entity relations, give me a second and I'm gonna give you a better resource that explains that than I do. Okay, where are you? Right here. He's a really good, what is this? What's the name of it? Article about entity relationships that explains them really well, written by, I think, the creator of Flex, which is a C++ /C entity component system. And they basically allow you to store relations between different entities as another component on the entity. Again, like I recommend reading this because it's gonna explain it much better than I do. What is your opinion on Blackthorn Prods Pass, the game type collabs. Would you ever consider joining? So is the thing where it's like, oh, you have a week and then you need to send the files to somebody else without communicating? I'm sorry, my chair is squeaking a lot. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm not a huge fan of anything like that, mostly because I'm a really anxious person, and when you tell me to do something in a really short amount of time, I just stress too much about it. So this is the reason why I don't participate in game jams, for example, because I don't like the pressure of the time limit. And I know that it's like the whole point is to sort of have this pressure, right? So that it forces you to like be creative and stuff. But I just don't enjoy it. It feels awful for me to go through it. And if you were to not only have the time pressure, but also then expose me to other people that I don't necessarily know with my social phobia, I don't think so. And then I think I'd die if I were to participate in something like that. But yeah, I think it's a fun idea. I've never personally watched a video like that. I've only seen them. I know that there's been some sort of a drama also with one of the videos, but that's the extent of my knowledge about them. How long have you been programming games? For as long as this, as my main channel exists. So that would be 3 years now. But I've been a programmer since I was a teenager. Unfortunately, a front-end developer. So I have like a decade of experience writing JavaScript and TypeScript, which is a really bad thing to have. Just wanted to say that I love all the videos you have been making. You truly are my favorite game dev channel. Thank you for making this great content. Thank you so much. I'm really glad people are appreciating it, despite how long it takes to make them, especially the newest video. Oh my God. I spent like 80 hours on my newest video. I'm so proud of it because it's everything that Motion Canvas is now capable of making. But I feel like the next video is gonna be a bit simpler, just to sort of catch my breath. Do you admire any other game devs, or perhaps played a game where if you were in the dev's shoes, you will never be able to do it as well? Brother, I recently finished Dredge. Dredge is like, I hope that this answers your question. Dredge is like a game, like I wish I made this game. It's such a beautiful game. It's such a perfect game. And I'm like, oh my God, I love everything about it. This is like, I wish this was my magnum opus, if that makes sense. And not only that, it's a debut game by an indie game dev studio from New Zealand. It's crazy. Imagine having your first game be this good. So yeah, that's definitely one developer that I admire. Why the animations are flipped? I'm gonna fix it. Because I was showing people how hot reload works, and I just made a quick change in the code to just showcase that. Your typewriter inspired me to make my own system like that, printing press, because it's way worse technologically, but I understand it more. That's extra cool, super cool to hear. I really like typewriter. I cannot wait to go back and like implement it in Bevy, although with a little twist, because it's not gonna be that complex and the editor is gonna be non-existent, but we're gonna get to that because I have an amazing idea how to implement the same thing but in Rust and like much simpler, I think. I'm a beginner and I look up to you as inspiration. You have really good YouTube content. Thank you so much. No plant cam. Oh no, I knew this time would come. Guys, I have a sad news for everybody. Unfortunately, the plant did not make it. It is with a great sadness that I inform you. It got infected by some parasitic insects and deteriorated over time, and I had to throw it away. It's actually a quite recent wound because it happened like a week ago. And weirdly enough, I've been more emotional about this than I thought I would be. Can we get some Fs in the chat? Yeah. But yeah, it's no longer with us. For now, I have my fake cactus. It's holding well. Okay, that concludes a minute of silence. Thank you for releasing your latest video, Motion Canvas Code. Excited to try my own. Oh yeah, it actually took a while because we have to release a new version because a lot of the features that I used in the video weren't out at the time of the release. But now Motion Canvas 3.15 is out, and it has a brand new code animation system, which we've been cooking for like a year now, I guess. It's just a year of thinking about it and like experimenting and improving, and I love it. So if you wanna, try it out. Can you at least show the fake cactus? Not today because I don't have my camera set up, but next time for sure. Speaking of next time, I have a question. Hold on. I need to go to YouTube though, because for some reason, I'm gonna show you something. Can I show you this? Hold on. Is it safe to show you that? I think it is. Here's OBS, right? And you can notice that it doesn't allow me to like do things here. Like start a poll, because that's what I want to do. I want to make a poll. And now I need to go to YouTube and do it manually. So give me just a second. The question is quite simple. Would you prefer me to stream on Twitch if I were to do it more often? Or is YouTube okay? Because I've been wondering about this. I don't know what is the current consensus on which platform is better. And I just wanted to ask you that. So give me a second. I'm opening the live stream. Start a poll. Don't go anywhere. Which platform would you like me to stream on more? I'm gonna put YouTube as first. I don't know if it shuffles the order. And I'm gonna put Twitch as second. And I'm not gonna add TikTok, I guess. Okay, there's the poll. I'm gonna leave it to hang on in here for some time. Going back to my OBS setup. Put a memorial text in the credits for your plant. Of course I will. Don't worry, there's probably gonna be an Easter egg with the plant in the game as well. That's for sure. At face value, the new code animation system looks the same to me. Need to look into it more. I can actually quickly show you the main difference if you'd like to. Hold on. I'm gonna show you anyway, now that you mentioned that. So the main difference in animation is that we have all of these new things for animating stuff, where, for example, you can just specify the new code and it's gonna use diffing algorithm, kind of like how Git does, to figure out what changes and animate it automatically. You also have some convenience method for like appending new text, prepending new text, inserting, replacing, remove. All of that was missing from the previous implementation. And then you have edit, and edit is the way it used to work. So you have to like specify the entire thing and then be like, oh, this part should be inserted, this part should be replaced, this part should be removed, right? So this is the legacy way. And it's a bit, I like it because it offers you a lot of like granularity as to what you can do, but oftentimes you need these simpler methods. And you can also now have nested signals, which are also pretty cool. So we can define like, oh, this part is gonna contain hello world, and then I'm gonna insert it using a template string. into the body, and then I'm gonna insert the body into the function. And now I can change the message and the body independently, and it just works. So this making it work was quite a nightmare, but I'm happy that it's there. Yeah, and I cannot wait to make some more videos with like code animations. Definitely for Rust. That's gonna be useful. Okay, but that's not the topic. I don't mind either, but Twitch does not support my browser. What browser do you use? That's interesting. You're asking this on YouTube. Like, yeah, because I don't even have a Twitch account. I mean, I have a Twitch account, but like I never stream there. I don't know how to do that. I know it's a biased question, okay? What are the results, by the way? Oh, okay, that's crazy actually. YouTube is 77%. That's interesting. Okay, but now that you mention it, I will try streaming on Twitch just to see how it is. Out of curiosity. The results are obvious. Okay, I did not expect them to be obvious, to be honest. I got actually, when I streamed last year, people were like asking me like, oh, why are you streaming on YouTube and not on Twitch? But I agree, yes, there is bias in the poll. What about dual stream? You can stream on multiple platforms. I don't have the bandwidth for that, I'm afraid. Thanks for the entity relations link. What about the systems that you plan and will need to rework to make it ECS compatible? I don't know. It's hard to tell, if I'm being honest. Like I'm kind of just making it as I go, and I don't really think in advance, about how it's gonna be. I don't think there's gonna be any major problems with what I had over there. I guess the UI is gonna be the biggest challenge, but I also want to change the UI to something else entirely, because in Unity I used to have an pixel art UI, and now I want to, oh, this is the old instance, I think. But now I want it to be actually full HD, kind of like Celeste does it. So it's gonna be a bit different. Okay, now I have the game back, and we are actually running in the direction that we're running in. Twitch does not support liberal wolf. I don't know how to say that. Okay, I see. Why not stream at both of them? Yeah, like, I guess I could try, right? I don't think I have the bandwidth. Even right now, YouTube is telling me that my bitrate is too small. But I guess I could try and see how it would go. I do wonder though, why throw away all of your work in Unity? Your progress looked great. Well, a lot of these things are in my head. It's not like, I learned an absurd amount of things in Unity that are not, necessarily specific to Unity. And also my progress was not that big, if I'm being honest, and I talked about this in the video, like I spent way too much making cool editors and systems and not actually making the game. So the game itself, when it comes to the actual essence of the game, not much was lost, if I'm being honest with you. I like Twitch for rewards, but YouTube is pretty great. Did you check the Bevy UI already, or other UI crates? No, because I want to use Velo, which allows me to do the vector-based rendering And I'm really interested in that, because it's kind of how motion canvas works with its rendering. And I would love to, if I'm able to do it, I would love to use it for my game as well. So this is my current plan. And also the UI is simple, right? There's not even a single input field that you would need in Astortion. So it's not going to be that challenging. But yes, I did check the Bevy UI, and if I'm being honest, I'm not a huge fan of like using ECS for structuring your UI. UI really feels like this thing that should be implemented using a scene graph, with the way events bubble and stuff. And ECS is like, it's just not really into that. But they are working on a huge rework, right, of like scenes and the UI, which is meant to unify them, I think. So maybe that's gonna be better. There are paid services that can stream to both YouTube and Twitch while you're only streaming to that service. Also, it like broadcasts your live stream. That's interesting. Reworking stuff is also part of the process, unavoidable. That is true to some extent. When working on a project, there's often a time when I need to start from zero instead of just a bunch of patches. That is true to some extent. Use motion canvas to create some animations. It's such a nice project. Thanks for creating it. No problem. There's so much more that we need to do when it comes to motion canvas, but I'm so happy that people are already using it. And just seeing what the community is creating on the Discord server and stuff is an amazing feeling. It's like people just like make stuff with your tool. How much time do you get to spend on Astortion on a weekly basis? Is it just something in the weekends because of work, or are you spending more time on the game? No, I'm a full-time YouTuber, actually. I'm getting paid by my patrons approximately $800 a month, which, since I'm from Poland, is barely enough to survive each month. So I don't have to work right now. It may change, you know, as the inflation keeps going and stuff, but right now I'm doing this full time. So I try to spend 8 hours a day working on either Astortion or motion canvas or the videos I'm working on. Because that's also, I'm not good at context switching. I really enjoy, you know, getting into something and then spending multiple days working on the same thing until I'm finished. So usually, you know, I spend like 2 weeks working on Astortion, and then I spend 2 weeks working on my next video, and then I spend a week working on motion canvas to release the new version after the video, and now I'm back to working on Astortion. Will you do bubble sounds for dialogue in Astortion? Probably, but I'm also thinking about a typewriter sound, like when you type. Though I'm not sure how well it's gonna work with the overall like minimalist, brutalist aesthetic. I don't know if a typewriter is gonna match that. Do you look forward to working on the game when you're doing other things? Sometimes I dream about games I play. Have you maybe dreamed about the game in some way? So hold on, because these are two separate questions. The first one, yeah, I do, but usually I don't. Usually it's like the thing that I'm focused on, I'm really interested in, and then the other things I'm like, and then I force myself to switch to that other thing, and then my brain goes like, oh, now I'm excited about the game, right? And I'm not excited about anything else. So it's just a matter of discipline for me to just be like, okay, it's enough. Now it's time to work on this thing for a while. And If I dream about my games, I don't think I do. I don't remember my dreams. I guess. Normally I say that I don't dream, but people always say like, oh, you always dream, you just don't remember your dreams. So I guess I don't remember my dreams. It's really cool that you can work on the things you love full time. Hopefully I can get there someday too. Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a double-edged sword, right? It's the amount of like stress that comes with it. So, what if next month my patrons decide to like leave me, and then I'm gonna be left. I don't know an idiom for that, but it's there's a lot of I'm personally at least really stressed about these things. Is there a moderator, or was my comment shadow banned by YouTube? It might have been banned by YouTube. I didn't do it, and I don't know if my moderator is online right now. What did you say? Say it differently with like different words. Okay, I'm gonna close the poll now. With 82% YouTube. Oh my god. Okay, you are biased. I'm gonna think what to do about this. Hi, hello. How tidy is your Trello board? I don't actually use Trello that much. What's Bevy? Bevy is a game engine in Rust for making games. That's what a game engine is for, I suppose. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna take like 5 minutes off, and I'm gonna get back to you in just a second. All right, I'm back, I think. Now I want to talk about the gameplay mechanics that I have planned. So sort of share some of my ideas and what I've implemented so far and what I'm planning to implement later before the playtests. There is no timer because I don't know for how long I'm gonna be gone on the be right back screen. Hold on, because my graphics tablet is not configured correctly. It tries to map to the different monitor. Okay. Just arrived. What has been talked about so far? I talked about the current state of the game, what I've implemented, the project structure. We talked a bit about Bevy and my initial impressions with Rust and Bevy. And that's pretty much it. And now I want to present to you the gameplay mechanics that I want to have in the game. So like I already showed you, there's the anchor already implemented. And another, a bit controversial, I'd say, mechanic is launch. So essentially, I can hold Shift and then use my keyboard, or maybe actually, hold on, I'm gonna switch to a gamepad because that's more suited for a gamepad. If it could work, that would be awesome. Hold on, because I don't know what's happening with my computer. Let me relaunch the game. Man, live presentations, always so much working. Okay, so if I hold a trigger, right, I kind of get this type of charge thing, and I can choose which direction I want to go, and it's gonna launch me there. And I know what you're gonna say. Okay, Jacob, this is just jumping with extra steps, but that's not true. Let me explain. This is gonna have a progression over the game. So we're gonna start with this being an environmental thing, which means that you can only do that in specific places. Then, at some point, you will be allowed to do that wherever you want from the ground. And then the final progression is being able to do that mid-air, which I cannot do right now because it's not implemented, but it's basically a dash. It's both a dash and a sort of jump in the same mechanic. But it's not a jump, okay? We're not gonna call it a jump. Awesome, and now YouTube shadow bans all my comments. It didn't shadow ban this one though. This is the game I'm most excited for. I mean, you know, there are some other games, I guess, that are a bit more exciting. Anyway, so laying out the gameplay mechanics, right? If I could get used to the controls. The first one is the anchor, right? So it's a thing, and it's mostly used for orbiting around it. That's sort of the main purpose. You can use it if you want to sort of launch yourself upwards, right? If you go pass through it. But mainly it's for like orbiting purposes. And the main problem with an anchor right now is that it doesn't have a limiting distance. So if you just happen to be like extremely far away, like right now, this anchor is on like the opposite side of the screen, I can still use it, right? And that's not good. This is the best example. I can go all the way here and I'm still getting attached to this anchor. So this allows for a lot of game breaking things where like, as long as there's an anchor somewhere in the scene, you can practically get anywhere because it gives you that much freedom. So the idea is to basically have like a little range within which you need to be in order to activate this anchor. And if you're outside of it, you just cannot use it. This is something like Unraveled. Is that the name of the game? There used to be this game where you played as this little creature made out of wool, and you would have like a line. I don't know if it makes sense, but there was a game like that, and it also had sort of like hooks, and you had to be in a range, and this range would be displayed on the screen. You could also have a raycast to check if the anchor isn't blocked by a wall, but it doesn't have to be blocked by a wall, right? Like right here, like this anchor is not blocked by a wall, and I still can go, a huge distance. And I feel like this distance-based thing, where the distance is displayed on the screen, is really nice because you know when it's gonna work and when it doesn't, right? It's a really clear notification. You can like judge, how far away you are from something. If you're gonna be falling down, are you gonna be falling through this section, right? Stuff like that. But yeah, these are the anchors. They are not the main focus this time around. One of the main focuses is the walkable wall, which I presented in one of my videos. And this is the main reason why we have all of these splines. So certain walls are like, that's awful, hold on a second. Certain walls are like rounded and stuff, right? They are displayed using a spline. Let's draw something like that. And then some sections of these walls will allow you to walk on them, right? This is also, nothing here is groundbreaking. I just wanted to emphasize like these mechanics have been used in a lot of games in one way or another. And basically, when you touch this, you can get attached to this part of the wall, and then you just walk alongside this path, right? So this is like, let's call it the second mechanic. This is the walking on the wall kind of thing. And if I can just get my notepad, because I have all of them listed here. Unravel is that game. Yeah, so I remembered correctly. Another thing that I would like to experiment with, and again, all of this is sort of for just, throwing stuff at the wall for the sake of playtesting and seeing what's interesting and what's fun and what isn't, is sort of an extraction tunnel from Portal thingy, which is just a line in 2D, which you can touch. And once you're sort of within the range of that line, you start traveling alongside it. And it may be a straight line, but maybe it's gonna be useful to have it like also, round around the corners, but we'll see. So this would be, this is not attached to anything. This is, if the ground is here, you're sort of mid-air traveling alongside this line. So that's another idea. And then also something that I think would work really well with the concept of gravity are fields, right? So what if you had some shape? And again, this is not solid, this is space, right? You can travel through it. And it, upon entering this thing, it would either have some constant force in some direction, like, oh, you enter it and it just drags you to the left, or it would be a zero gravity thing. Presumably, maybe even like Celeste. Celeste has these things where, like, if you enter them at a specific velocity, they just keep your velocity. I think they speed you up a bit, and then they eject you on the other side. But the abstract concept is the same. It's an area that enforces some sort of force upon you after entering, right? So this would be the fourth one. Which Visual Studio Code extensions are you using? I'm gonna go back to it in just a second. I'm gonna show you. Just let me finish this little thing. Yeah, the other one that I already talked about is launch, right? So you can either stand on the ground and then launch yourself in a specific direction, or later on you can do the same thing in the air. This is something also from like, I think Ori and the Will of the Wisp had this ability. And it's really cool to use. And the way it works is that you hold the button to sort of freeze time temporarily, and then you have a window to sort of decide your direction, and then you launch in that direction. That kind of thing. This is the fifth one. Another somewhat related to that one is, and I'm running out of colors, an ability to sort of zip yourself towards some object in the scene. So if you're standing here and you can sort of target this object with your right joystick, and then you can press some action button and you're just gonna travel really fast to that object, and it will usually land you on a wall, which would work well with this thing, right? So you would land on the other side and you would stick to the wall on the ceiling, that sort of thing. And then we have all of the interactive elements from before, right? So obviously we have the typical button scenario. We have the cubes, because it's not a puzzle game without cubes that you can lift. And lifting is an interesting thing, because I kind of want the player to be able to just rudimentarily lift a thing. And then the way it would work is that the cube would just levitate next to you. So the player is here and they sort of like move around, the cube is just like floating with them, and you can just move it wherever you need to do to move it, and you can, you know, perform all of these things while holding a cube. Have you also thought about how these things might interact with each other? And will the game be focused on platforming or something more like puzzles? It's gonna be focused on both. It's gonna be both platforming and puzzles. Like platforming is gonna be a part of the puzzle. But I'm not sure in which direction I'm gonna be leaning more towards. But yeah, like usually, you know, the puzzle is how to get somewhere. So did you rewrite in Rust? Why? I have an entire video about this. Look up a little reset on YouTube, and you're gonna find a really concise description of my rationale and why I did that. And then somewhat also related to this, moving a cube would be, you know, levitating it. I don't know how well that would work. So the idea is that this time the cube is somewhere else and you are standing here, and you have a connection with this cube. Your player is then, you know, locked in place. You cannot move anywhere. And you can use your joystick to like manipulate the cube to make it move somewhere. I don't know how useful that would be, right? Again, just throwing ideas. And one thing that I still need to implement physics-wise, but I feel like it would be interesting. I feel like any platforming game and puzzle game, for that matter, needs these things. Is movable objects, right? So something like an elevator that can like move up upon activation. It's like a really basic example, right? But you know what I'm talking about. I cannot even send link to the video from this YouTube channel. YouTube shadow bans me. Can we please stream on Twitch? Please, please, please. You do the thing where you like spell it, but with with spaces inside, like the good old days of the internet. Yeah. So this would be. Hold on, actually, because this is a good idea. I'm gonna do it really quick. Give me a second. Oh, I even have the stream open, so that's gonna be easy. Can I do that somehow? Okay, I need somebody to type a message in chat because I cannot reach the 3 dots in my own comment because they are overshadowed by the icon. Oh, thank you very much. That helps. Oh, okay. And now this message should be pinned to the top, I suppose. It's not, okay, hold on, that's silly, because it's not telling what it is. Hold on, I'm new. I'm new to being a YouTuber. Can I get another message in chat? I don't know who designed this. It's criminal. It's like I'm gonna show you what's happening. The icon for like the emoji is overshadowing the 3 dots here, and I cannot, you know, pin my message. Also, it doesn't work here in OBS, but it's the same thing happens on YouTube. Okay, and now I'm gonna pin this one. See, now we're streaming. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. What extensions do I use in Visual Studio Code? Not very many. I don't think so. I have the JetBrains icons, as I've been called out before. Blender development for doing plugins. This is amazing, by the way. Not only can you like just start Blender from within Visual Studio Code, it connects a development server that lets you debug Python running in Blender. It's crazy. Highly recommend if you're writing any Blender extensions. C++ for debugging Rust. Toml support. GitHub Copilot, which I have disabled because I hate it. I don't know why, but like when it comes to Rust, it's more annoying than helpful. I got it for free, by the way. I'm not paying for Copilot because I'm the creator of Motion Canvas, and apparently if you have like a bigger open source project, or I don't know what the threshold is, but they gave me it for free because I have an open source project on GitHub. GitLens is kind of cool. I don't know what it is. I don't know what this is. I don't remember installing this. It's probably something for Python. Rust Analyzer, and then support for RON, which is the Rusty object notation, which is something that Bevy uses. Unfortunately, in my imported assets, it has a different extension. I could probably configure this somehow, right? Why can, oh, this is the wrong file, hold on. So it doesn't highlight it, but I can probably configure file association somehow. I think I have it configured even. Hold on, that's not the thing. Settings. Oh, yeah. I can do it like that. And now if I open this, oh yeah, we get like nice syntax highlighting and stuff. Right click tab, reopen editor with. Yeah, but you can configure it like forever, right? You can do that either in this project settings or in your user settings, and then it's just gonna remember that that blend files are RON. You know you have held the Alt key while hovering on the message. It should bring some kind of options on the YouTube chat if I remember correctly. Hold on. Oh, but that's moderation. I can remove a message, put user in timeout, or hide the user on this channel. But there is no way to pin a message like that, sadly, unfortunately. But that's a nice tip. Okay, so yeah, this is the plan. This is what I will be implementing. We already have the anchor. We already have the launch almost functional. So we have all of these things that I want to implement and then play test them, create some cool levels and see if we can see, as somebody mentioned, like see how they actually played along with each other, because that's important. If, you know, all of them feel like a separate thing that doesn't really add up, then it's not gonna be fun. But I think they will. I think especially since we have a good mix of like making you travel along a certain path, like, oh, I can, like here, and here. And then we have things for getting you off the ground and eventually probably attaching to one of these things. So I feel like these will play along nicely. But you don't need to click on the three dots, you can click on the message. Hold on, I will try that. Oh, I can. Oh my God, you're right. Okay, that's much better, actually. Thanks for the tip. So my plan right now is trying to do something silly, which is trying to, I mean, not for this live stream, but trying to do some coding live and see how it works out. Because I do remember Randy trying to do that and it didn't work well, right? So because of that, for the past year, I was thinking to myself, yeah, that's a stupid idea. Like, you're just gonna be less productive when coding on a live stream. And who would watch that, right? That's another question. Who would watch, development on a live stream? I don't know. But I figured, I don't think I should assume like, oh, it's just not gonna work and never try it. So I want to try it first and then I'm gonna make an opinion. Because I thought about this and, at the end of the day, I am here, right? Like every day coding, so I might as well stream it. I don't know if it's gonna be useful to anybody, but it wouldn't hurt, unless it hurts my my productivity, right? Then it's gonna be an issue. But if it's not an issue, then I don't see why not. So plenty of dev streamers out there. That's true. This is actually something I researched recently. I was checking out the software development category on Twitch just to see what people are doing over there. And yeah, like you're right, people are doing it. So I guess it's just a matter of trying it. So I'm gonna do some research on dual streaming to both platforms. I will probably try to stream on Twitch once, like only on Twitch, just to see how it is, just to set it up and stuff like that. Probably tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, but I'm gonna let you know. Yeah, and I think that's it. I'm trying to think of any things that I might have forgotten, but I don't think there are any. Let me just save this. All right, so yeah, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in, and we're gonna be saying goodbyes, I suppose. So if you have any questions that you would like answered, you can ask them now. And if not, thank you for watching. I'm gonna wait a little while just in case there's like a delay. Thank you for the stream. Love seeing the game and your workflow with Bevy. Thank you too for being here. You're pretty good live. Have a great day. Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. Before saying bye, one request. ... I'm listening. I'm all ears. Astortion 3D 2.0 when Unreal Engine 5, of course. That's my next game, actually. What is the one request? You left me hanging. I don't have any. I just saw notification a few minutes ago, so bye, I guess. Yeah, it does happen sometimes. Please do more public announcements of streams. If not for the YouTube notifications, I would miss the stream today. Yeah, but how am I supposed to do it though? I announced them on my community tab on the main channel, and then I made this thing public an hour before the live stream as like a scheduled thing, and I'm not sure what else I can do. Rewriting Unreal Engine in Rust. I think people are already doing it. Discord, Twitter. See, but I'm not on Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter for like a year now. Do you have Discord? I do have a Discord, but it's currently Patreon only. But we were thinking about making it public for quite some time now, actually, for over a year now, I think. So maybe that would be a good idea. Schedule streams when you announce them. It will allow for viewer to plan the day accordingly. See, but this is the problem, because I always get one guide when I do that. When I create a schedule on YouTube, right, like a day before, or sometimes even a week before, because I know that I'm gonna be streaming and I know at which time, and somebody is always in the chat being like, why is it so long? Like, why are you announcing it so early? Like, it's too long. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not gonna do it. Man, people, you can't win. I think you can have Patreon only channels. Yes, that is the plan. We talked about this with my patrons too. Oh man, I'm gonna have to do it. But oh my god, I actually try to do it a few times, and each time I like start researching a Discord bot that I should use. And I see the absurd amount of bots, and everybody's like, oh, this bot is bad, this bot is not good, this like, no, Me6, nobody uses it anymore, and stuff like that. And I just get overwhelmed, and I'm like, I don't know how to set it up. Yeah, but I'm gonna have to look into it. If I want to stream, I guess that's a good point. Somebody is always going to complain. Well, yeah, exactly. And I have this problem that I take it too seriously. I see somebody complaining and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not gonna do it. And then it hurts other people, right? So that's kind of silly. You can have a schedule on what UTC time you start the stream. We start at 17 UTC 0 always. That is true. I think. Oh, hold on a second. Give me just a moment. Oh, never mind. Okay, I thought it's in the about section, because we did a whole like poll asking people when they would prefer what time they would prefer, and like we settled on 17 or what is it, 5 p.m. UTC 0. You do you, brother, man. I guess that's true. I guess that's right. When will Alice have free rotation again? Yeah, I'm gonna have to add it eventually. Right now it's really rough. It's just a running animation and nothing else. And then this one falling animation. Okay, I'm gonna take care of the announcement and scheduling thing. Oh, I should have posted on my Discord now as I think of it. I forgot about that. Okay, apologies to my patrons. Yeah, I should have done this. I usually do it. What is rapier? You mentioned it in your tech stack. It is a physics engine written in Rust, which also has a plugin for Bevy, and it basically does all of the physics simulation. I mean, for the player controller, of course, you want to do it manually, right? You don't just let the rigid body simulation do whatever it wants. But Rapier allows you to do things like, hold on, I'm gonna show you, like cast a shape. So you can, take your sphere and see what would it collide with if it were to move in this specific direction. And then you can make decisions based on that. Rewriting everything in Rust. That's true. Okay, so if I end up making the Discord server public, I will announce it on the community tab on the main channel. So you probably won't get a notification for that. I don't think YouTube sends notifications for that. So you can check next week if there's a new post on the community tab, and there's gonna be the public Discord server. Can we have an arrangement like that? Z LMAO. Yeah, Z is only for macOS right now though, right? I would like to try it once it's out on Windows. All right, I feel like we talked about everything. I thought it would only be for macOS. Oh, you may be right, but I do have like a vague memory of them saying that you can subscribe to a newsletter if you want to be notified about a Windows release, but I may be making stuff up. That's also one of the reasons why Twitch is better for streamer. It has better scheduling notification system. That's probably true. I mean, that's absolutely true because I use Twitch. That's now excuse me, now that you said that. Although I'm not following a lot of streamers, because I wonder what happens when you follow quite a lot of streamers. If they do like the YouTube thing where they're like, oh, we're only gonna show you the important notifications. And what's important? Well, the almighty gradient descent will decide. Twitch is bad, not Rust. Also, why not stream on YouTube and Twitch? Because my YouTube right now is telling me that my bitrate is too low. So I'm assuming that if I were to stream to two platforms simultaneously, it would not be good. But again, I'm gonna try this out. I'm gonna spend this week experimenting with this and see what is the best approach. I have notifications on for this YouTube channel, that's why I'm here. That's awesome. I feel like that should be the case, right? If you like enable notifications on this channel, Like not the subscribe button, but the ring the bell or whatever. Oh my god. Okay, that's how long have I been live for? Oh, not too long actually. Are you sure that is not referring to the OBS codec bitrate option? I am not. Thanks for telling me that. I'm gonna check it out. I'm not gonna check it out right now because I don't know if it's gonna mess something up. But I will take a look at this. By the way, what is your approach to designing larger systems? And sadly, I'm not able to answer this question right now, if I'm being honest, because I'm a bit tired and it's a complex question. When this stream ends, will I be able to immediately go back and watch the parts I missed? Yes, the VOD will be publicly available. You cannot change the bitrate when you are live. Yeah, that's what I'm suspecting. I'm not gonna try, but I will take a look later. Immediately, probably not, but in an hour or two, definitely. I think it will be available immediately, but it's not gonna be public immediately. So if you just keep the link that you have currently open and refresh the website, it should still play you the video, I think, but I don't know. Oh, YouTube publishes voice immediately. That's new. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I don't know if that's the case. But regardless if it is, eventually it will be available, right? Like you said, after a few hours. It says, thanks for watching for about 10 minutes after stream ends. Oh, that's interesting. See, I'm not using YouTube that often for watching live streams. I just realized that. I'm gonna put on the live stream end screen because it's slowly time to end, I guess. Yeah, so the VOD should be public. Maybe not immediately, maybe in 2 hours. We will see. Thank you all so much for watching, for being here. And yeah, we'll see each other soon. Maybe on Twitch, maybe on YouTube. We'll see. And check the community tab on the main channel in a week for the Discord server. Yeah, okay. So goodbye, everybody. Once again, have a great rest of your day. Was this screen made in Motion Canvas? Yes, it was. In a really old version of Motion Canvas, because that's from a year ago, actually. Okay, goodbye, everybody. My final message. That's it. I'll see you soon.